Hello, and thank you for joining us. President Trump said today on day 12 of the war in Iran that it would end soon, but, quote, we're not finished yet.
Their leaders are gone, and we could do a lot worse to one another. We're leaving certain things that if we take them out, or we could take them out by this afternoon, in fact, within an hour, they literally would never be able to build that country back.
In a CBS News exclusive, we've learned more details about the March 1st drone attack on a tactical operations center in Kuwait that killed 6 U.S. service members. Sources say dozens of troops suffered serious injuries from the attack, including brain trauma, shrapnel wounds, and burns. More than 30 military members remain in hospitals in San Antonio, D.C., and Germany. At least 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz were hit by suspected Iranian drones overnight, despite warnings from President Trump. It marks a possible escalation in Iran's retaliation. The United Arab Emirates has reported 4 more injuries from Iranian drone strikes. We're also seeing more fighting in Lebanon. The country says roughly 600 people have been killed by Israeli strikes in the past 2 weeks. At least 4 people were hurt in an Israeli attack on a Beirut apartment building early this morning. And back home on the West Coast, we're learning that the FBI issued a warning to California police departments about possible Iranian drone strikes against unspecified targets in retaliation for U.S. strikes against Iran. That's according to a bulletin obtained by CBS News. Our chief correspondent, Matt Gutman, is in Tel Aviv with the latest on the war.
Today, Iran with a very significant escalation in the Persian Gulf, specifically that narrow 20-mile-wide Strait of Hormuz choke point through which about 1/5 of the world's oil flows. According to reports, they have attacked at least 3 ships. One of them is stuck right there in the middle of the narrowest point of this strait, smoldering, on fire, completely debilitated. Its crew evacuated. We are unaware at this point of any injuries or casualties, but there could be. It's just not clear at this point. They have also attacked an oil depot in Oman, causing a massive fire. They have threatened the Dubai Financial Center because Israel and the U.S. hit Iran's banking sector today. They have also threatened that we are likely to see $200 per barrel oil in the near future because they are not going to let, as the regime said today, a drop of oil pass through the straits. Now, an interesting sidebar to that is that there are some ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. They are Iranian ships, and according to the Wall Street Journal, Iran is actually able to transport and sell more oil now than it was before the war. What's interesting is that it doesn't take very much from Iran to escalate this and to keep this war going. It's almost a sort of minimalism at this point. We are seeing a number of missiles launched at countries like Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and a number of them launched at Israel too. But the number has decreased and it has been noticeable, but it is still enough to grind the economies of these places to a halt, to grind daily life to a halt, and that's pretty much all they need. Iran, analysts tell us, is trying to prolong this war as long as possible. They think if they can survive, then they win. Back to you.
Matt Gutman, thank you. CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi joins me now. So, Olivia, the president was in Ohio and Kentucky today. He appeared to say we won when it comes to Iran.
Yeah, that caught my attention too, Lindsay. The president just wrapped up his speech in Kentucky where he was talking about domestic issues. This was billed as a speech talking about pharmaceuticals and lowering healthcare costs in the U.S., but it sounded at one point like the president said, we won in Iran. Here is what he said specifically. We've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say it too early that you won, but we won. In the first hour, it was over. So that caught our attention because, of course, this campaign is not over. And if anything, the Pentagon says it's been ramping up the last few days, particularly the strikes deeper and deeper into Iran with Israeli counterparts. So quite notable there. He also at one point appeared to joke about the name Epic Fury. Now, that's the name of the operation. The president said at one point they were going over what to name the operation, and he said he started falling asleep. Then after the 20th name or so, they said Epic Fury, and he said he woke up, and that caught his attention. 2 other notes, if I could, things that caught my attention today that the president said about Iran. At one point, a journalist asked him, he's been calling it a war, but he's also been calling it an excursion. They asked, so which is it? And he said, well, it's both. It's an excursion that will keep us out of a war. For them, it's a war. For us, it turned out to be easier than we thought. The president was also asked about those mines that we know the Iranian ships were laying in the Strait of Hormuz, which were threatening global oil traffic. And the president said the U.S. has hit 28 mine ships as of this moment, which is more than we had learned yesterday that they had hit. So it appears that part of the mission is continuing. Lindsay?
For them, it's a war. For us, an excursion. Okay, Olivia Rinaldi, thank you. Let's bring in CBS News congressional reporter Torian Small. How are lawmakers feeling about the war on day 12?
Yeah, Lindsay, there's still lingering questions about the length of this war or excursion. A lot of lawmakers pressing the Trump administration about answers about what this will look like and then further involvement from the U.S. There has been bipartisan concerns on potential boots on the ground, something that the president hasn't yet ruled out. And then there's also calls for oversight and accountability for that strike in Iran that hit a girls' school there. We've heard from some Republicans like Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, who said, listen, it's not up to him to ask for an apology from this administration, but he believes that this was a clear mistake, as he's told from the Trump administration. And he's looking forward to see how this plays out, what protocol that they will follow in order to really answer for what happened there as that investigation continues. But the cost of this gives a lot of Republicans pause of this prolonged war. And then also, again, it's accountability and oversight that we're hearing from lawmakers really on both sides of the aisle here.
This is all happening while the Homeland Security Department remains shut down. It includes major cybersecurity agencies. Where does that debate stand?
Yeah, Republicans are pushing on Democrats to really cave in at this point, saying that this is a potential threat to our national security if this department isn't reopened. Democrats are, however, holding the line, even offering an alternative. They're saying, as speaking of Senator Pat Murray of Washington State, she went to the floor today to push forward a bill that would fund every agency within the department except for Customs, Border Patrol, and ICE. That was blocked by Republicans. And this was an exchange that happened between her and the Senate Majority Leader John Thune today.
I am willing to talk to people, but I'm not willing to sit in a room, have coffee, give away a few things, and have Stephen Miller override whatever we all agreed to.
We have a situation here, Mr. President, where one side is trying to get a deal to open up the government, to get people back to work, to fund the programs and functions that are important to the national security of our country. And we have one side that's saying, we're not going to sit down and talk.
Sources familiar with the negotiations tell CBS News that both sides are still far apart on a deal. But I also want to point out, Lindsay, and we've talked about this before, the president said he will not sign another bill unless the next one that hits his desk is the Save America Act. That also includes this DHS funding bill. So even if Democrats were to agree to a White House proposal, it's likely that the president will hold the line for his legislation first.
Torian Small, thank you.